for most players, I want to say the meta hasn't changed too much for the past 3 seasons. I wouldn't say for Juggernauts. I mean, the meta only has been consistent for the past 2 seasons because we weren't able to really utilize Grit Teeth or Forcebound until at least halfway through the first season of the expansion.
Season 12. Yeah.
Season 12. Season 12 has been was my worst season. On record, I had really little desire to queue up and ranked. I had Life Warden, which was pretty much required every other match. And so I could pray. I only, with the long 10-minute cooldown, I had to pray that I didn't get a pop too fast because I would have to use it for the second match.
Well, that's why you got like 8 Juggernauts, right, Cog? You just go on to the next one. Wait for your Life Warden, come back. Wait a minute.
Oh,
that's right. When you log out, wait, hold on. When you log out, it actually retains the debuff on your bar, so that doesn't even work. That's actually hilarious. I forgot about that. That means if you log out of a Jug, you wait a year and you come back, you still can't use Life Warden on him for, 7.5 minutes or whatever, because he's still got the debuff on him. Yeah, I should ask you real quick, do you think that Life Warden, between each round when cooldowns reset, do you think that tactical should reset? Or do you think that would make Life Warden too strong and too meta?
I think that would make Life Warden pretty strong and too meta, but I mean, I don't see why not. We got everything else. Literally every other cooldown resets but Life Warden. So why not have that?
Yeah, it's a good question because, obviously, you get your 2 cloaks back, which is beneficial by your tactical. You get your predation, your camo back. You get all your cooldowns back. And it does raise the question, why doesn't Life Warden reset? And the only thing I would say to that is, in PvP, it's all about having a numbers advantage. If, the enemy team loses a player first, your chances to win that match increase significantly. And since it is about survival as the most important thing, I think you'd see too many people running Life Warden if there was no cooldown on that tactical. And it's 10 minutes now, I believe. If it was 5, would it become too strong in the context of operation encounters or flash run encounters? I don't know. But it is by far the strongest general tactical that all classes can use. And I don't know. It's hard to say for sure. It's kind of a toss-up. 10 minutes is kind of a sweet spot right now. You're going to get it 1 round per game. And there's almost a prediction to be made. Maybe you tunnel a Jug or a Merc in 1 round. Is he going to run it on round 2? Or are they going to run it on round 3? It's something you have to play around. And it does sort of add an interesting element of what round are we going to change our strategy up? Because maybe that Merc's going to run it next round since we went on. Let's go on the Jug instead, or the other Sork, or whatever. I think it's something like that.
Yeah, I definitely think I'm of the mind that, everything else resets. It would be an easy, meta shift to just say, let's let Life Warden reset with everything else between each round. I think it would be a good shift. Are we going to tunnel the Jug every time? No, because he's got Life Warden. Additionally, you got to remember, you have a huge DPS loss when you run Life Warden for most classes.
Yeah, perhaps. I mean, in the context of Jug, I guess you don't lose too much. Arsenal, you don't lose too much. IO, you do, because your 2 DPS tacticals, continuous fire, and energized charges are pretty nice. But yeah, for the context of Sork as well, Lightning Sork, you do lose a decent amount. And yeah, it's something that they should maybe play with. And it is to note, you can still die through Life Warden. It's not the strongest, DCD cooldown, but it is significant when you're being tunneled, and the main objective is to stay alive. It comes into play and will help you get a second in range defense the same way Grit Teeth can. But yeah, okay. So I want to ask you real quick. Let's just go to rewards real quick. I want to ask you. They brought back replica rewards. It was about 3 years ago. It was announced 2.5 years ago when season 10 was ending. They released the season 1 rewards like the Rancor and the Victorious weapons. What are your thoughts about them taking them away now?
Well, I mean, they said they never. Well, I mean, halfway through it, they said, "Hey, these replica rewards aren't supposed to be around forever." I don't think it's a terrible thing. it's nice that they did bring them back. However, taking them out, it really depends on the fashion in which they're being taken out. I mean, last season we got a huge token boost, and they also changed up tokens distribution at the middle of last season too, right? They made it so they were legacy wide as opposed to character, which was phenomenal in my opinion.
Yeah, I think that should have been always established as these rewards being legacy, because like the all armorings in the game are legacy now. Like the armor sets, the Grand Death helmet, all the weapons are legacy. It really did not make much sense for the the tokens to not be legacy. That just made absolutely no sense at all. Especially like you said, season 10, 11, 12, the grants were low, so bronze only got you 7,500. 15,000 for silver, 30 for gold, and 45 for top 3. Those are really low numbers. I mean, when you compare that, like every replica mount is 200,000, so that's like the equivalent of getting 4 top 3s. The weapon boxes were 50,000, which were still a lot back then. But like you said, the shift in token, it's sort of like a gold rush last minute. They announced near the end of season 13 that the grants were increased. There's 37,500. 75, 150 for gold, and top 3 is like 225, which is a lot better. It's just too bad they didn't do that from the start, because like you said, they those token grants, I guess I said that, not you, they are really, really expensive rewards to get. And it's sort of a head scratcher, like, hey, I played a lot in season 10, 11, 12. Season 13, I barely played because, things had gone stale. But if I knew the whole time that the grants weren't going to increase, I certainly would have played more, giving me a better chance to get these rewards. So I'm crossing my fingers right now. They said at the beginning of season 15, those replicas are gone. I'm hoping we get one more token grant on those. The season 14 token grant. But
Yeah,
I
like
guess we'll just have to wait and see.
One more batch. Well, it doesn't make sense, right? Because they've already announced the rewards, that new weapon set, which looks sweet, by the way. I'm liking the look. They said that you have to earn that with the tokens that you're earning this season. So I would imagine that they still keep those around so that you can buy the last batch of replicas with the batch of tokens that you're getting. So we can only hope though, because they haven't announced it. And there's that awe of mystery around what BioWare is going to do. Like, what are they going to do? Because they haven't announced what's required for each tier this season either.
Yeah, as far as the rating breakdown, and like we know it's going to be something similar, but it would be nice to get clarity on that. I guess the reason they wait is they don't know how the ELO distribution is going to be at this point. They have to wait till the end to see. And my prediction is this is going to be a long season, the same way season 13 was long. I would expect this season to end in December. Maybe when this Galactic season ends. Maybe around the time the 10th anniversary starts. That's where I would ballpark this season ending. And we'll have to wait and see, until the fall to actually see what the token breakdown and the rating breakdown will be.
A long season was season 6, 7, 8. 9 was also pretty long. 10, I think, was the first time a season was considered in my head short. All of those seasons were at least a year long.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I feel like at some point, I could be wrong. Maybe they said, hey, we're going to start doing quicker seasons. But, maybe
they said at season 10, they were like, we're going to do shorter seasons, 4 to 6 months. We all know 4 to 6 months means we're going to stretch it out to 6 months because reasons.
Yeah, exactly. They're usually going to go to the end of that that bracket versus the 4 months. They're not going to overperform in that regard. Yeah, so, I mean, in my opinion, I wish they'd leave the replica rewards forever. They are replicas, and since tokens are not season-specific anymore, it just makes sense to me that they would leave those rewards forever. I don't know why they're making them exclusive again, if the point of bringing them back in the first place was to remove the exclusive aspect. That's just my opinion. I think the prices are high enough to get everything. It's like 3 million tokens to get everything. I think that's plenty of grinding to do, where it's to be expected that most players aren't going to get all those rewards in a timely fashion. So if you leave them forever, that's another incentive for people to queue up and play. And I just think leaving them on the vendor makes sense. That's my opinion. That's the way I see it. I'm not a dev, but as a player, I've played most of the recent seasons since 10 at a significant amount of games. That's my perspective.
I'm with you
yeah.
on that. I definitely don't mind that there's, hey, this is a replica. It's going to cost more if you don't get it the season it's released. But you know what? It gives you something to grind towards if you want to play. I mean, if you're playing all season, I played all season last season, and I played a lot. I got 14 tunes between in all three tiers, right? Bronze, silver, gold. 14 tunes among all those with an accumulative of about 1.7 million tokens. I was able to buy most of my rewards, but I was also like, all right, cool, time to switch it up. Time to get a different tune. Next tune, next tune, next tune. But this season, well, this season's a completely different story.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah. So, so the replicas were a way to add a grace period for real content, to add new rewards, right? It's a way for them to, hey, by the way, Potter, I don't think the stream can hear you, by the way. Do you check your mic on your OBS real quick?
I just checked. Apparently, my headphones have not been kind to me lately. I did not know my mic was fixed, but I have fixed it now.
Right. Well, I guess there was just dead air for 2 minutes. Just know whatever Potter said was pretty stupid. We can agree on that. No, I'm just kidding. Potter made a really good point. What he said was, why bring in the replica rewards back if you're going to take them away? And in my opinion, this shows an inconsistency in what they want to accomplish here. I think, in my opinion, the reason they brought them back is probably to give them a grace period before bringing back new rewards as a way to, curb down production time from making replica rewards, or from making new rewards. That way they can focus on cartel market or whatever. And I think, now that they're taking it away, it's kind of like, well, why did you bring it back to begin with? It's kind of weird like that. And what were you going to say, KogAss?
Well, the whole, if you look back at when they released they began the replica reward, season 9, or season 10 was when season 9, end of season 9, season 10. That's the tail end of the last expansion, right? Kotet, the Knights of the Eternal Throne. And I was just, oof. How long did that expansion last? Almost 2.5 years?
Yeah, 3 years almost.
Almost
2
years.
2 years, 10 months was how long that expansion was.
So, you want to talk about a content drought. That was pretty big. PvP was pretty popping back then. There was a lot of changes. Mercs became viable during that time frame. If you remember Mercs in season 8 versus season 9 when they got all their shields and DCDs, it was like ridiculous. But what a crazy change that was.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, definitely. One more thing I want to say on the rewards, just so before I forget, and we'll go on to something else. You know how like Degree, the Rackle event, these are recurring events. Bounty event, and there's vendors just in Cartel Bazaar forever with rewards at them that are expensive. I feel like that's how the replicas should be. They should just stick the vendor next to Gerard of the Hut on the side. You can have your new seasonal stuff, but just leave the replicas there. I don't understand why they're taking it away. I don't know what that does. What does taking them away accomplish? It makes them exclusive, but you already brought them back. I guess that's my opinion on that. But I think we should go on to another topic, which is a bit related to rewards. It's the win requirement. There's a new win requirement that started in season 12 20 wins for bronze, silver's 40, gold is 80, and top 3 is 160. KogAss, what do you think about this change? Is this a good change? Is it a bad change? Did the numbers need to be shuffled?
This was a change. This was like we can't figure out how to keep the population going or keep people queuing, so we're gonna require wins for you to get these. It's been solved by a whole bunch of other games, with rating decay. Instead of introducing wins, they should have just brought in rating decay. Been like, all right, cool, you started PvPing, now your rating's gonna decay. You can't just have a game and then not queue up for the next 2 weeks. You're gonna lose rating. You're not gonna lose a lot, maybe 2 or 3, but if you don't queue up for 3 weeks, 3, 6, 9, nine elo is a lot for people who are trying to climb.
Yeah, rating decay is not a bad idea. You can run into issues like Satil, like how you queue for 3 hours in the night. If you don't get a game, are you going to lose rating decay? Like that could be an issue.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
So it's not perfect, but it is a good idea. Maybe rating decay is something that Bioware should consider. And the win requirement in general. I look back at season 11. That was the second season during which replicas were back, and they didn't have a win requirement, so you can do 10 wins. If you want 10-0 in requirements, you get 1,500. Hey, you got bronze after 10 games. That's great. That was great. It was great for farming quick ramps. It was great for farming some flares on your alt characters. But now, 80 wins. I know so many people who have alts that hit 1,500, but they're never going to get 80 wins on it. At this point, people have flares, except Potter. I mean, most people have gold flares that they want. Potter, I'm just kidding, by the way. But my point is, people want to get gold to get the token grant. But 80 wins is so much. And if you reach the rating to hit gold, you are going to get excluded from matches because the population is frankly low. And you're going to get skipped a lot. So proportionate to the token grant, you are going to have to wait extra long in queue to get games to actually get the win requirement. So in a way, it's more efficient to farm 20 wins on bronze, go to an alt, 20 wins on bronze, than it is to wait in queue and get gold. Because proportionately, the tokens go 37,500, 75,000, and 150 to gold. And proportionately, you need double the wins and quadruple the wins to hit gold, right? So, in my opinion, the token grant for gold should be more than 150. It should not be proportionate to the amount of wins. 4 times the wins, 4 times the tokens. You got gold. There should be an exponential amount of tokens given, some sort of multiplier greater than, just a proportionate fraction. It should be a greater amount of tokens for having a higher skill ceiling. You know what I'm saying, KogAss? I think that'd be a good change they should make to actually incentivize people to play on 1-2.
I agree, and I disagree at the same time, because we're so the reason is because they reward you at the highest earned. They don't reward you at what you have at the end of the season. If it was at the end of the season, I would lean way more towards agreeing with you. But all you got to do is peak. You just got to peak. Find out where you peak, and then get your wins from there.
Right.
I break it down into 2 separate ones. I break it down into rating requirement first, and then win requirement. If I've already hit the rating requirement for silver or gold, it's just it's just a numbers game after that. I would rather, wait around and get. I used last season. I had the time to wait around to just kind of get in queue, and queues were popping. That was the thing, right? Queues would be popping whenever I was streaming on Mondays and Wednesdays.
Mm-hmm.
Now queues aren't popping, so that's something, like, again, we're gonna talk about that later. But I agree and I disagree at the same time. Yet you make some good strong points, but you're not always gonna sit at 1,500. You're gonna hit 1,503. You're gonna lose a game. You might lose 2 games in a row. You'll be back at 1470, 1460, and then you'll be back into the pool, and then you win again. It really depends on how hard you can carry your teams, and if you're going for that top 3 title, or server best. But there were plenty of teams that was able to get more than enough wins on last season.
Yeah, so I guess here's my problem. I'll give you a scenario, right? Like, a player hits 1,500, awesome. I want to get the token grant for gold. I want to get my gold flare. But guess what? I can't get into pops because maybe there's 9 people in queue and I'm the odd man out because I have the highest elo. In a perfect world, I would magically hit a switch and make my elo drop to 1200 because I've already hit 1500, baby. I've already, it takes your highest earned. That way, I could just play games, win some, lose some, win some, lose some, and get 80 wins faster than a player who has already naturally dropped down that low. I guess that's my problem with the system is the win requirement is extreme. 80 wins is quite extreme. There was no win requirement ever for bronze, silver, and gold. I think it's a great thing that exists for top 3. I think it is kind of funny that you could get top 3 off 10 wins. Obviously, that would be extremely challenging to do and is extremely unlikely. But I think 160 is a pretty good benchmark for solo ranked. And most of our discussion is centered around solo ranked. I know it's different for group ranked. But for like gold mean 80. That's a lot of games. And that's a lot of waiting for games to pop. On servers like Leviathan, Tulak Horde, even Satil, that is a long time to wait. And like I said, if your rating is still around 1500, 1450, if you drop 1550, you're gonna, probably get excluded from half the games going on the server. So
what if we let the rating decay take over and you lose 50 rating because you just you have enough tunes that you can just swap over and play and let that tune's rating decay enough so that
that almost sounds perfect.
Are able to go there.
That sounds good. Can I pay cartel coins to decay my rating so I could get down back in the game?
So
that's where rating decay would be good. Actually, KogAss, you make a good point.
I just want to ask: didn't they add the win requirements to stop win trading though? I mean, not win trading, like the people who just queue into PvP just to farm mats or tokens.
Yes. Well, it is a way to curb win trading and people manipulating the system, getting 10 wins, getting a gold, and being done with it. That is exactly why it exists. It's a really good system for top 3. It's maybe not as good of a system, I think, for bronze, silver, and gold. That's my opinion.
Well, Potter, why don't you read Snicker's question in chat here real quick?
Oh, yes. So, YOLO asked in chat, wouldn't rating decay only matter for top 3 as well as the current system based on the highest elo earned?
Yes, that is true, except for the case that KogAss brought up, which is I hit gold rating, but I want 80 wins, but it's taking forever for me to get in games because my elo is so high. I sit on fleet for 3 hours for 1 pop. Guess what? I wanted to K elo on purpose so I could go down to like 1200, and then I could start playing again. I could get into more games. I'm in that prime Goldilocks zone region to get into all those pops. Because you're not going to be if you're at 1500. And that's almost a place where you would want elo decay to happen to you on purpose.
So you got to remember,
that's a Sean problem, though. Like,
not everybody is. Yeah,
sure.
not everybody's able to get to gold. Some people are always going to be silver. Some people are going to be bronze. There's going to be times when, there's a player who is really close to getting to their next tier. They really want it. I mean, they want it. They've been trying to get to that. They say in chat, hey, this is going to be my, silver. This is going to be my bronze game. I need this win. They'll sit on those tunes for a while without actually queuing up. And what rating decay is going to introduce is going to put a little bit more incentive for them to re-queue to try to, because if they don't queue it up within the next few weeks, they're going to be out of range from getting that next tier, from hitting silver, from hitting bronze. I would love to be able to see how many players hit bronze, silver, gold in the game that actually queue up for ranks, because getting even bronze is really hard. Like, it is not easy. There are people who play for seasons and are not able to hit bronze. There are other people and these are people, there's a ton of reg stars, who would be able to play, phenomenal players in regs, but when it comes to ranked, they would struggle to hit bronze. So rating decay would help, because if they were wanting to get that tier that they were going for, it would be a little bit more, all right, well, you got to do that. You got to hit that number, and you can't just, sit at 1200 flat without any consequences and just hope you get into a good match. It'll give them that extra push to queue it up and get into that into queue, because there's no incentive with rating.
Where does the I was going to ask real quick. Rating decay. What is the stopping point? Is there a point where it stops decaying your rating? Is 1200 the baseline? Is it 1100? What would you have in mind as like a spot where if you hit this number, you stop decaying rating? Would that exist in this system?
I wouldn't mind if it was. I would say probably 1100 sounds good, right? 1200. You got to remember 1225 is your
Bronze.
bronze,
So, but
right?
here's the thing: if
So,
you transfer servers, you reset all your wins, right? You get reset at 1200, right? You get put back in qualifiers.
right. So
So should that
I
be
mean,
what
it
it
could just be
decays?
12. Yeah, it could be just 1200. Um, if you know how rating works, every tune starts at a 1200 rating. That's just the arbitrary number that BioWare has assigned us, and your wins and losses are calibrated off of that. So a 500, uh, you know, win loss is 1200 off flat. So it could be just 1200. If you're below 1200, you're not going to lose any more rating. That actually would work.
Yeah. See, the problem, yeah, again, and we sort of mentioned this. Servers like Satil Shan, I don't know what the EU servers like Leviathan and Tulakord. I'm just guessing. But let's say I want to get into a match and I have the highest rating on our server. If I get excluded from matches, I'm in queue, man. I want to play, but I literally can't. Am I going to get decayed on rating? That's why I think you can't really do a decay in
Right.
the
I mean,
cases
I think
before.
I think a floor for decaying is a good idea if they were introduce it. And I think you're right. I think 1200 is a good spot.
So
Okay, but still, I feel like again, if I'm the highest rated player in the server and I can't get into a game, hypothetically, and I'm in queue, I want to play. Am I still going to get decayed on rating? Am I just screwed? See, that's why I think that's the issue.
I
It's a
think if they
population issue.
Yeah, I think you should have the higher priority as to be put on a team than as opposed to the lowest priority, which is what's happened.
So I just want to read. So Ozzy put a comment. It's like I guess his comment is basically saying like to make rating decay or any of the ideas work, is that we need like a substantial population to make it work. So the pops happen and that there's actually games going on for every elo level and stuff. So I kind of want to bring this up. Is that how do we get more players to even bother queuing up for ranked PvP? Because I feel like if we can get new players in, I feel like that would solve issues about population. If we can get like more, like what KogAss said earlier about like the people who queue regs all the time, right? Like if we can get them into ranked PvP, we'll probably have more queue pops on both Satil and maybe the other lower population servers. So like, what do you guys think would be a good idea to bring in like the reg stars, as you guys referred to them earlier, into
Well,
ranked PvP?
you know, increasing the population is difficult. There's probably a few ways they could do it, with rewards and how they tailor content and direct players. But I'll tell you, just as a note, what Max in chat is good, which is that the solution should be to decrease the time increment between bracket expansions. So that means if I get skipped because my elo's high, the system acknowledges that I've been skipped from a match or whoever, and it will be more lenient and allow them to get into a game if they get skipped once. So you're not sitting all night waiting. Maybe that already exists to an extent, for all I know. But I think that would be a solution if you want to put elo decay in the game. But I think I have a good topic if you guys are ready to move on, which is the removal of Mandalorian Battle Ring and the Orbital Station. KogAss, what are the impacts of removing these maps? Do you want to see them back even if they don't get fixed? And how has that impacted season 14 so far?
So, one of the biggest reasons that I said, what I said about, can I summarize season 14 for you in a sentence? And I said, just kind of stinks. This is probably one of the biggest reasons. I really wish they on the website on leaderboards, you could see like if you were to click on this player, you could see their breakdown of how well they do in each map, what their win percentage is, and just how well they do, versus other comps. Maybe not other comps because it's fully crazy, but you can see better. A lot of the competitive games, I look back and I used to play StarCraft 2 and Warcraft 3 pretty competitively, right? Before SWTOR came out and before I got into SWTOR ranked. And those games, you could see which maps you're doing well in, and you could downvote a specific map. At first I was like, that's really not necessary. I don't see what a point is. But then I look down and I see, well, if I can downvote 2 maps and there's nothing lost for me, I'm going to go ahead and downvote this map where I have a 45% win rate, and I'm going to keep the map that I have a 55% win rate. And a difference of 10% on those 2 maps is huge. And
so, do you think they should add map selection? Is that what you're saying?
I think they should add. They could add map selection. With the limited number of maps, only 1 downvote necessary. But I'd love to be able to see what my map that I can win on is too.
Well, I understand your point. You definitely want a map that favors your class, and Orbital Station and Mando Ring especially. Mando being the biggest one, really benefits range classes and classes with knockbacks. That's for certain. And, map selection, I just think, can cause some issues. And I think random maps will distribute normally over a long period of time. Maybe you get Rishiko, which you don't like as a range DPS, or maybe you get a lot of Mando Ring, which you do like on a range DPS. I think in the long run, random map has worked. But I think the bigger issue, and I want to ask you about this, is what is the impact of Orbital Station and Mando Ring being disabled? What classes are harmed the most by this? What classes benefit the most by this? What do you think, KogAss?
I wanted to break this down in classes like you did for range, but it's really hard because it's more of a role, right? As a person who's normally the first target from the other team, and normally somebody who has to chase somebody who's the first target of the other team, the nuance is that you need to have the ability to chase this person or the ability to kite the other team. And you hit it really nail on the head with saying that Mandalorian Battle Ring benefits classes with knockbacks and range classes. Well, I believe Orbital Station was probably the best map for somebody who needs to kite, because it is probably the only map that has 3 layers to it, right? You have your bottom layer with the GTNs, you've got your middle layer with the big blue and the big red shield, and then you have your top layer where everybody goes up, and that really benefits people with knockbacks. That really benefits people who need the kite, right? The ability
and it also
to get somebody back. Go ahead.
It also it benefits classes, funny enough, that can desync easily, like a rolling concealment operative, right? Because you don't know where the hell they are. Are they at the GTN? Are they at the top level? Who the hell knows, right? They've gone to a new dimension. So
yeah, and so
Go ahead.
It's definitely beneficial. It's definitely beneficial for a class like a Juggernaut to be on Orbital Station, because I can push somebody off of the top floor, and then if I need to kite them, I can use my saber throw, which is a root. I take that utility, and that person's out of the game, out of the match, out of the fight for 6+ seconds, right? A second and a half for my push, another 3 seconds for the root on my lightsaber, and then who knows however long it takes for them to re-engage the fight, whether it's leaping back in or having to take the ramp. I mean, people hate the fact that they have to run around but to get back up. However, it's needed sometimes.
Yeah, definitely. So I just want to ask, in a hypothetical world where they don't find a solution to the random map that's on Orbital and Battle Ring, and they don't find a solution to desync, do you think that they should just admit defeat and reinstate these maps immediately in the solo ranked, even though they haven't been fixed? Yes or no?
So, Orbital Station, from what I understand, the issue was you died as soon as you loaded in, and then when the timer started, you would spawn up. I never heard of anybody dying when they jumped down.
Okay.
So if that's the condition of Orbital Station, yes, reinstate it. I don't see a big deal of spawning in dead when you just respawn in 15 seconds when the match is about to start. Mandalorian Battle Ring, unfortunately, it's got too much RNG when you die, jumping down. We don't need that in. Population, people are already get angry enough with how ranked is. Mandalorian Battle Ring should not. So, long story short, Orbital Station, yes. Mandalorian Battle Ring, no.
Okay, so to an extent, people have been dying in Corellia, and people have been dying on Tatooine Canyon. Should they remove those maps, yes or no? It's infrequent compared to Mando, but people are dying randomly on that map.
No.
Do you think they should remove those?
No. What do we
Okay, so can we bring... now let me ask this. I want to play Sniper. Can we bring Mando? Just give me an advantage and take away Tatooine Canyon or something. You know what I mean? Like, people are dying on Tatooine when they leave spawn. People are dying on the staircase on Corellia. I even think some people, I might have seen it once, people dying leaving spawn Rishi. So, if it seems they don't know what the problem is, right? I don't know if it's because the terrain is imbalanced. I don't know what the hell it is. But if they're still dying on maps that are in play right now, don't you think at some point they should bring back Mando or leave it off? What do you think?
I'd have to look at the numbers. Unfortunately, it's one of those things where, we're dying on Tatooine, but how often are we dying on Tatooine compared to how often we're dying on Mando? The fact that it was brought up on Mando consistently, if it's once every night, where there's only 5 games, and that's a 20% chance, that's too high. That's nothing. That's not enough to bring the map in. That's too much RNG.
So I guess I tend to agree. I guess you're right. Maybe Mando, it was significantly more people dying randomly than Corellia or Tatooine. I can understand that. I just hope that they can fix the problem, because it is frustrating having maps turned off. You have less content. PvP already gets, ranked PvP already gets so little content. Class balance really is their content, and we haven't seen that in so long. It'd just be nice if they brought the maps back.
The maps that they do have in there right now benefit the classes that are already OP, right? They already benefit classes that just need a straight line of sight. They already benefit operatives. They already benefit assassins, right? And they already benefit marauders. Marauders are kind of good in every single map just because they can stealth out and run and hide for 5 seconds and then heal up. Oversimplified, but operatives and sins don't need a map advantage, and that's Corellia Square is by far one of their biggest map advantages. Versus me, where I can't, like I said, if I have to push somebody back in order to kite, I'm going to be able to do that on Orbital. I'm going to be able to do that on Mandalorian Battle Ring. Positioning is very big, and classes or players who don't really care for positioning or don't want to learn it get penalized in those maps for it. Versus where if that happens on Corellia Square, well, what did I just do? Well, I pushed them into rubble because there's a little bit of rubble sticking up, so they just got stuck onto that. There's very little LOS on Corellia Square, when honestly, it's my least favorite map.
Okay, so it sounds like the general consensus is Mando really needs to get that random player dying incident fixed. Orbital is probably something we'd want to see come back soon, because there's been 4 maps for Season 14, and PvP is already a bit stale as it is. This isn't helping population at all. It's just frustrating having less maps to play on. It's kind of ridiculous, just 4 maps. I guess that sounds like the consensus, would you say? KogAss?
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Okay. Yeah, okay, so now I wanted to go into another topic. I guess this will be the last one, which is sort of the barrier to entry for ranked PvP. Not only is it very toxic and very unwelcome to new players, but you need to have 306 item rating, which makes sense. But with the Onslaught gearing system, which has been around for almost 2 years now, there's so many choices. Players can make incorrect choices because they have a set bonus that's bad on, or they have a tactical that's bad on. They don't have amplifiers rolled on their class because they don't have enough credits maybe. Do you think that the way the Onslaught gearing goes is not conducive for bringing new players into ranked PvP because of how certain set bonuses are necessary to compete at a high level, and other set bonuses that players don't know, they think it's what's best for the class, ends up being bad? For example, a force-bound jug like yourself, if you're against a jug running Descend the Fearless because he thinks it's the best set bonus, you have a huge advantage on it. What do you think about that?
I think that you're absolutely right. In the old days of SWTOR, you had regs, or you had, PvE gear and PvP gear. And it was pretty easy to know what was PvP gear because you got it from the PvP vendor. So should they, what's an easy way to alleviate that? Maybe have a second vendor that says Juggernaut PvP vendor, and that it sells the armor sets that are usable, or more favorable for PvP environments. But like you said, this is all crafted stuff that I wear because Life of the Jug 2021. So I don't know if I have a solid response for that. Besides saying that, yeah, you're absolutely right. They do make it an overcomplicated system. They try to simplify it, and it ends up hurting the system, or it ends up hurting the players because this person thinks that they're ready to queue up and they're good to go in 306 gear. They're not augmented, they have no set bonus, and they don't have a good tactical item. They just hit the minimum requirements and they think they're good to go, and they have so much more missing.
Yeah, so like the first thing you do when you go on a ranked PvP game, you see a player you don't recognize. You click on them, you look at their buff bar. If they've got Readied Healing or Alpha Strike or something like that on, guess what? They're the first target because they don't know what the hell they're doing. They have the wrong amplifiers on. They probably have no set bonus. That's the issue with the system. Their whole goal for this time was 306 item range easy to get, but the set bonuses are hard to get. It's a horizontal progression system. So you have some set bonuses that are crafted, like you said, which made them limited from the game completely for the first few months. You had to wait for Kai Zykin to release them. Then you have set bonuses like Apex Predator, Veteran Ranger, Emergency Power, which are only available from very low RNG loot tables or from going into Duxon, Nature Progress Operation. And even then, it's very difficult to consistently get that gear to drop. This is something that if you're a power tech and you go into ranked, you don't have these set bonuses. You're gonna have Meteor Brawler on, and hopefully you have your Energy Burst Tactical on. But guess what? I see, Krau's Accord, or I've been given something from my loot crate, my PvP regs box, Life Warden or Dursteel Wall. Hell yeah, I'm gonna put this on. It must be good. It was given to me. That's the issue I think with the Onslaught system is, among all the other issues that pile up and pile up. I'm a new player. I want to try ranked. I don't have a set bonus on. I'm screwed. This is just another thing to add on to the wall of things that make it very difficult for new players to enter. Yeah. That's the barrier to entry.
Yeah, the barrier to entry is also also created by those in ranked right now. Right, there's a lot of players, and I'm guilty of this. I'm just going to throw that out there. I'm very guilty, so I'm going to point at myself. Of when I got into ranked, and when I was I want to say in my tanking prime, season 8, season 9, people would ask me for tips, and I was very elusive. I didn't care to give everybody the best tips because I was like, I learned this shit the hard way. Everybody, you need to learn this stuff the hard way. There's no reason why I should tell you what to do. So the barrier of entry is also created by those players in there because it's not easy to find the information to know what you need for gear, for set bonuses, for stats. That, for the most part, eludes most players. The information's out there, the Theory Crafter Discord, some videos, but I mean, it is so hard to navigate that, and you have to navigate through the toxicity of it. And that's something a little bit on the players too, where it's like, we don't have enough content out there. We don't have enough content creators. We don't have enough YouTubers, not enough videos, not enough discussions in healthy discussions about what you need to do to gear it up. I mean, I've never checked the official SWTOR forums, but I'd be willing to bet there's not a lot of good information on there for ranked PvP gear sets and tactical items for every class.
Yeah, there absolutely isn't. And, you'd hope that maybe there'd be a resource like that, but at the time being, there isn't. And, like a lot of the influencers, a lot of the content, a lot of the player base in general is casual, so no one has really stepped up and been like a resource to get all this information. If you're going to play Power Tech, if you're going to play Advanced Prototype, you should have Veteran Ranger in your inventory. You should have Emergency Power in your inventory. Life Warden and your Energy Burst Tactical. That just doesn't exist anymore. There's so many classes that are like that. Do I want repositioning gear on my sniper this game? If I'm in an all DPS, am I in a tank healer game? Maybe I want to run established foothold, so I've entrenched uptime. There's so many choices and so many things to consider. It's overwhelming, and players, might not want to queue to begin with, where they queue one match and say never again. I had no clue what I was doing. I did 0 damage that run. I took my health bar. I don't know what the hell happened to me. So
right, you get nuked and you get blown up, and I mean, it's really hard for me to remember. It wasn't until recently I actually queued up on an operative for me to remember the anxiety that comes with queuing for ranked. The heart's pounding. My hands, I have sweaty hands. I don't know if anybody, it's embarrassing for me, but you know what? I'll be honest about it. Back in season 9, I literally had a rag next to the desk, and I would have hit that pop, And I mean, I was doing the grind, so I was just like, oh god, here we go again. My hands would instantly get sweaty. I'd take the pop for the next 20, 30 seconds while I'm waiting for the match to start. I'm, I've got the rag and I'm drying out my hands, trying to figure out the strategy, trying to figure everything out. There's a lot of anxiety that comes up with queuing for ranked. That you and me are probably, we're used to, and we're able to get over it. But for new players, they get that anxiety, and then on top of that, they all of a sudden they get killed instantly. They don't know what happens, and then their teammates just tell them they're shit. Man, get out of queue. And now you had potentially somebody who was going to start queuing up more for ranked. Been like, nope, I'm done. I'm outies.
I gotta say personally, because I only started ranked PvP like last season. If I weren't friends with like a certain number of people who I could ask questions and shit, I would not be queuing ranked at all. It's just not worth it. There is like the amount of shit talking, toxicity, bad mouthing, and all that shit. And like, and it's not just in game. Like, I've only recently started streaming PvP, but like you watch it in other PvP streams as well. It's just, I don't know what it is about Star Wars: The Old Republic, but they take it to an extra level of toxicity that is like real. Like it makes you not want to play the game. And like, this is coming from a guy who plays League of Legends, and that game is notoriously toxic. But this game is like, it's just an extra level of shit talking and like craziness that like, for all the stuff, like, I like ranked PvP, I like playing it, I like the competitiveness of it. At the same time, I'm like, let it burn, because it's just like, what's the point? Like, I'd rather play a reg where I can just farm numbers, farm kills. It's objective based. So like, there's, even if you can't kill someone, you still feel like you're contributing to your team because like you're helping get the objectives and stuff. But like, ranked PvP, like, to be honest, the rewards aren't even that good enough to put up with like all the other, like the massive learning curve that there is in ranked PvP.
Yeah, and I guess we're getting close to the end. I guess the last thing I'd say, if we still have time, what do you guys think about maybe we talked about how Bioware doesn't treat the mode the best, the player base doesn't treat the mode the best. There's less rewards, there's a larger barrier to entry, there's a possibility to gear wrong, there's low population. Do you think that they should remove the top 3 reward altogether if they're not going to moderate the community correctly? If they're not going to add class balance, if there's maps that are randomly killing people, do you think that it's something they should consider, removing the top 3 reward completely? Will that remove a lot of the issues of toxicity and queue manipulation and in general? Do you think that'll make it a more pleasant? Yeah, expand on that. What do you think?
I think absolutely. I the extra stresses, of that, you get gold. I mean, like I said, I would love to see the breakdown of players per server that get gold, silver, bronze, because versus how many queue up in the game, because that will tell us, the players, how it actually is. I mean, it's got to be a bell curve of some type, but being able to see, only top 3 players get it. You also get people who are, there's a lot of throwers in queue, because say, I don't know if you face this, but I know in season 9, towards the end of the season, people were like, KogAss is undeserving of top 3. We're gonna throw on him, and it's very minute. It's very small. There'd be a tank healer combination that would be queuing together, and the healer obviously isn't going to try his best when he's on my team, when he's best friends with the tank on the other team, you know. And so having that top 3 title removed would have definitely relieved a lot of stress for me. And I was like, all right, cool, I got gold. I wanted to go for that. So it should be removed. Absolutely. I don't think with how the toxicity is, there's no doubt in my mind that the game would be better off without top 3 titles.
Yeah, and sort of to reinforce everything we've said so far and what you just said, top 3 rewards feel strange because the population is so low. It kind of has devalued the meaning because you're actually competing against a smaller player base. So in short term, lower population correlates to top 3 titles being an issue. First of all, you're competing against less players, so proportionally, top 3 is actually a larger portion of the population. 96 titles. When you might have like 5,000 players playing versus maybe 50,000 at its most popular. I don't know how many players exactly. And since it's a smaller player base, there's going to be queue manipulation for those top 3s. there's going to be issues getting your matches done on servers that are dead to even acquire 160 wins to qualify for top 3. And in general, I think if they're not going to regulate the mode and do the proper action needed to ban people who win traded or remove their rewards, it shouldn't exist to begin with. Because you're basically saying you reward that kind of activity and behavior. So I think it's definitely something they should consider. It's just removing it altogether at this certain point in time. But yeah, Potter, KogAss, you guys got anything else you want to talk about? What do you think?
No.
Toxicity is the biggest barrier from multiple players. I mean, I'm talking multiple players. Why don't you guys want to queue up? Toxicity. Number 1, 2, or 3 reason. Usually number 1, and then they'll give out other reasons, but toxicity sucks, and that's why I stream ranked. I try not to be toxic. I do my best. I don't always succeed. And I deal with the toxic streamer or toxic players, and I say, you know what? They're not. Their bark is worse than their bite. It's really just frustrating because these are players who have broken, or been toxic before, have been stopped from being able to queue before, and they're still able to queue up this season. If for whatever reason they said, well, that was last season, this is this season, and they kind of give them a little reset on bad behavior, and they're like, all right, well, try better this season, boys. Please behave. And they're not letting them know that, hey, you know what? You are already an issue last season. You're already starting again this season. So let's go ahead and just hit you with that same issue that we had last season with you, because it just sucks because it feels like the devs are afraid to ban players who are in queue, because if they ban 5 or 6 of the players that are toxic in queue, they ban half the population that's queuing ranked right now during the prime time in the States. So they're like, well, we can't ban them because the queue won't pop, but they don't realize that you have a whole bunch, you have 10 to 20 players ready to queue up as soon as those players are out of queue.
Right, and it's hard to see if removing those players will, make a change in the vibe for PvP. If more people will get into it, the community will grow. Or if by removing those players, new players will just fill that void and fill that role of toxicity or queue manipulation or whatever they do. It's hard to say for sure. But I think just in general, top 3 removed means less players are going to be motivated to act in that way. That's my opinion, but it's hard to see. It'd be a good experiment, I think, some season. Maybe season 15, they'll try no top 3s and just see what happens. As KogAss and I sit in this cantina wearing our top 3s. Potter, you don't have one. What's wrong with that? Huh?
Well,
why don't you have a top?
As a shitter who gets all the flame for being shit, I'll get good eventually.
Yeah, we'll see about that, Potter. We're gonna track your career with great interest, okay? And for everyone watching, Potter's been streaming solo ranked most nights on SWTOR. Obviously, our server needs more players at queue. So if you're watching this, queue solo ranked. When you see Potter streaming, get it going. And I think I would appreciate that. Potter would, and KogAss absolutely would. So yeah, KogAss, thank you for coming on the show tonight. And most people know where to find you already at twitch.tv/KogAss. And that's right? It's just your name, right?
Yeah, it's underscore at the end, but can I do a little shameless plug of the YouTube channel? I am actually working. We are talking about it. I am working on my YouTube channel. I am coming up video series called the Ultimate Vengeance Juggernaut PvP Guide. No idea how many episodes or how many parts it's going to be. I'm going to try to hit every aspect of a Vengeance Juggernaut in ranked PvP.
That's great. Well, that sounds like a good series to check out. And I'm definitely going to check that out. And that's youtube.com/KogAss, right? Just like Twitch?
I don't think I have my own specific URL. I'm going to DM it to Potter real quick.
Yeah,
cool.
I'll put it in the chat for the viewers.
Good. Well, it sounds like a good series. And I think, like we said, it's going to be a good way to reduce the barrier to entry for new players. Maybe, if there's a Juggernaut, they're going to check out their guide if they're a new player. And, give a little love, and it's going to, grow the seed into a tree. And we'll have a big, strong trunk of players queuing solo ranked before we know it. A lot of genius Juggernauts in queue. So yeah, I think that's all we got to say. Potter, did you have any closing notes or anything you wanted to share?
No, that's like obviously I have the least experience of ranked PvP out of out of us three, so no, I think everyone made some good points. Obviously we wish things could be better, but like there's not much. I guess there's not much BioWare can do in terms of like as you said, moderating the community because of like population. Obviously they want to keep those players sub to the game and all that stuff. And then there's also like all those other like if only BioWare could release more content or do more balance changing, so ranked PvP actually feels like a game mode that is fresh and fun and like people queue up for it. So yeah,
Yeah.
So I guess it's all like it all comes down to why isn't SWTOR more popular? And then like once that happens, I guess like all these other issues slowly get fixed.
Yep, well put, Potter. All right, well, I guess that's the end of the podcast, right?
Yeah. Well, thanks everyone for watching. And yeah.
Yep, thanks for coming, KogAss, and yeah.
Bye, stream.
Thanks for having me, guys.
The
Appreciate
end.
it.
Yeah, KogAss, thanks for coming. It's been good having you.